So that audio is from Jets fan Novak, who correctly called it 2 weeks in a row. First playoff week, he called the score correctly for Baltimore and Houston. And then this week, he threw in that watch for something that Dan Campbell does to lose this game for the Lions if it's close at the end. Dead on.
I mean, it wasn't just that. I mean, he actually gave almost what happened as an example. I believe his example was, he kick a field goal to win the game or tie the game, but he goes for it on fourth down and doesn't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was his example of something that might happen. I mean,
sounds like a guy who's been watching football his whole life. That's what it sounds like right there.
Either that or listening to Cardone all year, who's been complaining about not kicking field goals.
Unbelievable. I know we'll get into all that, but Jesus, I mean, it came to fruition, for a championship Sunday. Unbelievable, guys.
Yep.
And if you've noticed, Andy Reid has been kicking field goals in these playoffs, and look where he is. He's in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Most of we've said it like 3 weeks in a row now. Most of these coaches in the playoffs have tamped it down a little bit, but Dan Campbell, man, just fuck it.
You go to the well too often, it's going to come back to screw you, and it did.
Yeah.
And the Lions, losers lose and winners win, and that's why we have the Super Bowl we have.
And we will break that down a little bit further because I do have some comments about the analytics crew and Dan Campbell. But before we get to that, we are the Three Angry Giant fans. Your host, Scott, Giant Mike. Cardone is back in the fold, and Jets fan Novak. And let's give a shout out here before we get into everything. We're going to go outside of the country this time.
Yes.
So hello, Portsmouth, England. Population 208,000.
Stop.
It's the only. Yeah, I'm really.
Don't do the accent.
Lansdowne.
It's the only English city not located on the actual mainland, so it's on Portsea Isle, and it's the home of the first dry dock ever built in 1496 for those shipping enthusiasts, and it's also the home of Charles Dickens and Peter Sellers. So the Pink Panther and a magnificent writer.
Any listeners to our pod there?
Yes, that's where the download came
All
from.
right.
Portsmouth, England. They
There
love
you go.
my accent, by the way. They're saying it's authentic.
Oh, God.
Give it a shot, Scott. Come on, just do the rest of the pod in the English accent.
Oh, that I can't do.
Do one full pod as Lansdowne with a monocle.
Lansdowne.
And a
Our
top
buddy.
hat.
I need if I had the monocle, I think I would work. Yeah.
I was a fan of Lansdowne on the Fat Man sheet. He got a lot
Lansdowne.
of grief. I was a fan of his.
Yeah. Lansdowne was awesome.
For those listeners that have no clue what we're talking about, I used to do a breakdown every week of each game, and I would do my predictions, and then I'd give my best bets at the end. I actually used to do quite well at that.
You did.
But I had created this fake butler named Lansdowne who would come in and just start hurling British insults at people. So it was fun times.
We had one friend and listener at the time, Scott, who thought you put out two different sheets, right? So in the week, there was the real one, and then there was the one that just crossed you up.
Although apparently all that Lansdowne ever ate was tea and crumpets. I mean, that was the same joke trotted out every single sheet.
Yeah.
That talking about Cordell
to the well.
I used to say Cordell Stewart's neck was getting beat by a bag of nails.
Oh, the neck cheese.
You did the neck cheese. You did say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, maybe it was Norm Turner's face hit with the bag of nails and the neck cheese from Cordell.
The craters.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, good times.
Before we get off Portsmouth, can anyone explain to me what a dry dock is?
They don't drink on this dock? I don't know.
Yeah. People used to put ships in there. It's sort of like
without water? Like what?
I think that's where you held your ships over the winter or whatever when the weather was inclement, and then put them back in.
Oh, okay. Well, that actually makes sense. You bring them in and lift them out of the water. And...
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Just curious.
I believe that's what it is. I'm not a shipping magnet.
I got Darren on it.
Darren, do some research.
So before we break into the breakdown of the games, there were some news on the Giants front from coaching. So Joel Thomas was named the running back coach. Their previous running back coach went to become the offensive coordinator at Syracuse University. Aaron Wellman is back as the strength and conditioning coach. He was here prior. Michael Gobriel is our new special teams coach, and he coached the Jets. He was with the Jets.
Gobes, know him well.
and then Carmen Basilio is our new offensive line coach. He comes from the Raiders, where their units had improvement over the last 3-4 years. So maybe a bright spot there on the offensive line. I'm thinking, can this be the guy that finally turns it around?
Not one of those names gets me excited in there, by the way. Do I know any of these guys? I don't know. No, so
Aaron Wellman,
who are three people that never been in my kitchen? Wasn't that Clavin's answer to Final Jeopardy?
Where he bet it all?
Yeah.
That's what you just rattled off guys who've never been in my kitchen. I have no idea who these people are. All right.
Didn't Trebek come to his house after and apologize?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There was a technicality where the answer was actually kind of correct.
Yeah, his answer was correct.
Nonetheless, Alex, they've never been in my kitchen. It's kind of right.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great if you could have the most creative answer to a Jeopardy question and get it right while not being right?
Yeah. It's an open-ended answer. Open-ended question.
So getting into the results of this weekend, let's start with that Lions game, because just Dan Campbell, I was amazed, and we were talking about this on the text string. I was amazed that during the broadcast, Campbell was not taking more crap for the decision-making that he had. Nope. And even in the days following, a lot of people are supporting Campbell. They're like, well, the numbers, the percentages support going for it there. That's if you're, we've talked about this before. That's like if you're playing 182 games. When you're playing one game and you need to get to the Super Bowl, what's more important, getting a first down or going up 3 scores? It's going up 3 scores with over a quarter and a half left. And that's the one thing analytics doesn't take into account, or the percentages doesn't take into account. They passed up 2 field goals. They ran a play with 3 timeouts left at the goal line that made them use a timeout. And that was maybe as big of a blunder as the 4th down ones, because that kept them from having a chance to actually stop the 49ers and get the ball back for one last chance. And then, just the whole idea that you have to go for it and be aggressive. I heard him say, this is the way we play. This is what we do all year long. Honestly, I think he meant that as a positive. That's a negative. If you can't change the way you coach in the postseason and you have to win a game, then what does it matter if you're aggressive? If you're aggressive, you're consistently aggressive, you're just as predictable as the guy who's not. You know what I mean? Just you have to mix it up, and there you have to take the points instead of the downs.
Yeah, it's getting to my pet peeve very early, but it's the one I heard. To your point, Scott. Well, that's who we are. That's who all the reactions, right? All of the analysis. And I'll jump right on the sports media, because you knew that's exactly what they were going to say. Well, Dan Campbell, that's their identity. That's who they are. But it's not who you are, evidently, all the time, 100% of the time, because I went and looked at the stats, and during the regular season, they did attempt 21 field goals, and they also attempted 3 more during the postseason. So 24 times you did attempt a fucking field goal. So it's not who you are 100% of the time. Think about this, guys. We all play poker, here and there. Do you bluff every single hand? Do you go all in every single hand? No, you pick and choose your spots. Mm-hmm. Every game takes on a different personality, if you will. To not go up by 3 scores is absolutely inexcusable. And thank God I'm not a Detroit Lion fan. Unbelievable.
To go in further on that poker analysis, I just played in a poker tournament this week, and we were close to the bubble. And I had pocket aces, and a guy near me raises, and I go all in, and he's sitting there going, there's only one hand that beats me right now. But he had a pretty big chip stack, and his risk right there was, does he go all in and match me and take a risk there, or does he basically fold, knowing that he can just fold his way basically into the money? And he had pocket kings and laid pocket kings down and showed me, and I showed him my aces.
Yeah.
Great lay down, but that's exactly it. The book says play pocket aces all the time. If you're Dan Campbell's going all in with those pocket aces, and then he's out of the tournament. And that's exactly what happened. He's out of the playoffs.
Campbell coached the second half. It's funny. He kicked the field goal at the end of the first half to go up 24-7, and to go up by 17. The second half, he was coaching like number 2 from Austin Powers played a blackjack hand. When he was hitting on 17, the only difference is Campbell doesn't have a fucking eye patch with X-ray vision like number 2 did. So
you can't take away in the analytics the momentum factor, right? Because the 49ers had just gotten a field goal to make it 24-10. If he kicks the field goal, the message is sent. We're just trading scores now. Yeah. So we've gone from we're kicking your ass in the first half. Oh yeah, the second half you're going to score. That's fine. We're going to trade field goals now, or we're going to trade scores. And I don't think the momentum changes there. So you felt it. You felt the second that they went for it and didn't get it. The whole game, the whole tenor, everything changed. And then on that second field goal that he decided not to take, he couldn't do it then because he had already shot his load on the first one. He's like, I can't go around and now kick a field goal because we're the fucking Lions. We don't do that.
They also don't win Super Bowls.
I know you guys know my feelings on this. You guys just covered it so well, but there's factors, and Novak kind of said the same thing, but if they go up by 3 scores there after, I don't know how much time that was taken out. I mean, I think it was under 10 minutes. So, they'd already taken 6 minutes off the clock, and the 49ers are exactly where the half started. Mm-hmm. So you've got that bag of time you just put in your bank, and now they've got even less time to come back from 3 scores. To not go for 3 scores there is inexcusable. And I think everyone here probably knows as soon as they lined up, every one of us said it was stupid before the ball was snapped, and it would still be stupid if they got it. But if you go up by 3 scores there, a lot of things change. The 49ers, you're essentially taking Christian McCaffrey away from the 49ers until they get the score back down. So even if you assume everything's the same and they don't get the luckiest bounce catch down to the 2 I've ever seen off someone's head, even if that still happens, it's fine. It's fine. You go back and you even kicking another field goal after that would have been fine. You just set yourself up to just be starting to kill clock, and they just refuse to do it. And I think most of the time what I've seen, people are going off on the second one. I don't hear a lot of people talking about the first one, which I think was way more egregious. The first one, because you needed the second one because you didn't get the first one. Right. They probably wouldn't have needed that field goal if they had just kicked the first one, assuming, of course, that the guy makes them all. But inexcusable to me. And Scott covered it very well in the beginning of this. When he said, "Look, you gotta." That's fine. You analytics are great. Whatever you want to do with analytics, but you have to understand that is a large pool of data that has formed that go and don't go number. And when you're in one single situation where the risk is even 3 times as much as it is in the regular season, because if that doesn't work and you lose the game, the season's done. It's all over. It's not like you just take an L and move on and say, well, if I do that every time, I'll win in the long run. That doesn't matter in the playoffs. There's no, so yeah, I think you guys covered it very well there. And yeah, inexcusable coaching. I was trying to remember another time when actual coaching decisions just changed the winner and loser of a game in the playoffs. I couldn't recall one right off the top of my head, but Dan Campbell is the reason why the 49 are the reason why the 49ers are playing in the Super Bowl, but also the reason why his team is sitting home.
Well, I think too, if you look at it, it was one of those things where, again, it's okay to be aggressive, but when you're not aggressive and you dial it back and you still win, that's a change of pace. Remember back when the run and shoot was big? And the run and shoot was one of those offenses. They would get down to the goal line and they didn't have a play for a fullback or to push it in. It's like, you can't coach. All right, you run the run and shoot. You can't put a formation in there every now and then just to run the ball up the middle to get a touchdown. And no run and shoot team ever won the Super Bowl. And part of it's because of that inflexibility. You cannot be so consistent. You have to mix it up.
Yep. Dan Campbell is turning himself very quickly. He has to look in the mirror this offseason, but because he's on the path to being a gimmick coach.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And it's for different reasons than Scott just laid out, like the run and shoot or these other, trying to base a whole offense around the Wildcat or something like that. Yeah. This is just because, as Scott said, you've become predictable at being unpredictable. And you're giving other teams opportunities they shouldn't have.
And I did have a bit of a problem with the Lions that entire game. Like, I don't know if you guys saw C.J. Gardner-Johnson, but he waved goodbye to the San Francisco fans in the first half. And I'm like, you're getting way ahead of yourself, guy. I mean, you guys have not won anything. You can't act like you've won anything until you actually win something.
Well, as Novak mentioned at the beginning, winners win, losers lose.
Yep. And I can speak to that. Don't we know?
So we had a bit of a different outcome in the Ravens-Chiefs game. That one showed once again, Steve Spagnuolo caught a great game for the Chiefs on defense, and he contained Lamar Jackson and said, if you're going to beat us with your arm. And Lamar Jackson, for another time in the playoffs, said, I can't do it. And, Chiefs ended up winning. Lamar made a couple horrible decisions on throwing the ball. Ugh. Last interception, threw into triple coverage. He had guys open underneath. He didn't take off and run the ball nearly as much as he probably could have. And, we'll get into the whole thing with Taylor Swift and everything else with the NFL and promotion of this. I mean, by the end of the game, I don't know if you guys heard that the Chiefs now are road warriors. Yeah, they've won two playoff games, and they're road warriors.
They were saying that before the game started.
Yeah,
so road warriors.
Yeah, they're road warriors now.
Yeah, it's like a guy goes on a 1-game hitting streak in baseball. Like, the Cost is tearing it up.
Yeah.
He's swinging a hot bat right now. He's got a 1-game hitting streak going,
Yeah, I think we need to stop with the Lamar Jackson as an all-time great discussion. Can we just stop at this point? Because that guy did not show up. I'm not saying I blame that loss on Lamar Jackson, but he did not play well. And we were texting about it. Anytime that he got pressured, his game is to run. And he didn't. And I don't know why. I don't know if he was obsessed with trying to prove that I'm a pocket passer in a big spot. I don't know if it was the offensive coordinator, who, by the way, had a terrible game plan. Let's just put that out there. But Lamar Jackson was not even average in this game. He was poor. So we need to stop with this. Until this guy wins something, stop with he's an all-time great, because he's not.
I saw one statement. Is Lamar Jackson the next great quarterback to never win a Super Bowl? Guy has 2 playoff victories to his name. Yeah. Is he the next great quarterback to never win a Super Bowl? I'll say it right now. Lamar Jackson, he sucks. Lamar Jackson sucks. And why he sucks is I said at the beginning, I forget exactly what point it was. It was long before he threw into triple coverage in the end zone to basically end the game. But I was looking at his body language. And the one thing that separates the greats from the not so greats as far as a quarterback, and this is coming from a Eli Manning lifelong fan, and in terms of being does Lamar Jackson look like a poised quarterback right now that's going to lead your team back to a victory, being down by 1 score? I think it was 17-10 at the time, in the fourth quarter. I'm looking at Lamar Jackson. I'm like, I would take 25 other quarterbacks in this asshole right now. There was no way he had the poise. The pressure, sort of like a Dak Prescott. You can see the pressure coming out of his eyeballs in that second half. And on the flip side, you see a Patrick Mahomes who is he's been there before. He's accomplished everything you can at this, in this game. And that's why the Chiefs are doing what they're doing. And Lamar Jackson, he's like a Dak Prescott. You will never win anything with that guy. He may be able to run around and do all the bullshit they do in the regular season, but guess what? We've seen that movie in this league a million times with that style of quarterback. And how many Super Bowl championships does that style of quarterback get you, win for you? It doesn't. It just doesn't.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson is Justin Fields with a better team around him.
Yep.
That's really all he is.
You said that. That's spot on.
You're right,
Does
Mike.
Does anybody really think Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson could switch teams right now, and Justin Fields couldn't operate this team in the exact same way?
Yes.
I don't, and I think Justin Fields sucks, and I think Lamar Jackson sucks, and I think Lamar Jackson at the Bears would look terrible. He'd look like Justin Fields looks. So yeah, this talk about Lamar Jackson. I mean, it's got to end. I mean, we're sitting on the possibility here of this guy being a 2-time league MVP, and I have more to say about that later. But that's unconscionable to me. The players that are better than him, who will never win MVP in this league, this guy's possibly about to become a 2-time league MVP.
And I won't go as far as to say he sucks. What is tough about Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson has a lot of barriers to him being an all-time great, and it starts with him not being able to throw the ball. The issue with Lamar Jackson is that he can run so well that people get mesmerized by it, almost like they do with Justin Fields and some of the other quarterbacks who do run. But the problem is, and it shows itself in the playoffs. So it's sort of like the Lions, stayed aggressive and it bit them. Lamar Jackson in the playoffs is inevitably going to face a good defense. And the good defense is going to say, Lamar, beat us with your arm. And it's happened time and again. And every time he plays against a good defense in the playoffs, he can't get it done. Now he beat Houston. Houston had the worst ranked defense, I think, of any team that was in these playoffs. And so that was not surprising. What is tough for Baltimore, if you're a Baltimore fan here, I mean, Giant fans bitch about Daniel Jones's contract. Well, Lamar Jackson's making a ton of money, and you had a great team around him. You had a good defense. You have a great offensive line. And right now you're out of the playoffs basically because your guy couldn't do it again. He couldn't beat a team with his arm.
Yeah, win with him.
You're the 1 seed. I mean, I know it's Kansas City, defending Super Bowl champs, but you have a home championship game. Then I asked the question, then when are you going to get it done? Right? Then when is Lamar Jackson gonna get to the big game? If not this year.
Yeah.
With the championship game in your own stadium. I don't know.
But
Scott,
pieces.
Scott, you just said I'm going on emotion there by saying Lamar Jackson sucks. Obviously, I don't really think that he does. It's just that, do I have any confidence of him winning these kinds of playoff games? No, I don't. But you just said, Scott, I'm going to just repeat what you said. You said he can't throw the ball. I forget exactly how you said, but think about
He's not a good passer of the ball.
He's not a good throw. This is an NFL quarterback about to become, we think this, the MVP of the league for the second time, and the guy can't throw the ball. Well, then how do we put up with this shit? This is the NFL, and we just put up with it. I can't really throw. We saw it in the first quarter of that game. He had guys open out in the flatness and that short. Those are like little check down throws, and he overthrowing, underthrowing. That's pathetic.
It's like saying he's an all-time great receiver, but he really can't catch all that well.
He had shitty hands. He had shitty hands, but he was pretty good.
He's an all-timer, though.
Did you see his
great route runner?
Oh my God, route running.
Great route runner. Can't catch. Yeah,
it really is something. And Cost made a good point at the beginning about how you're going to face one of these defenses with a great defensive coordinator who's going to be able to keep you in the pocket, and you're not going to win in the playoffs. I mean, that goes back. You guys remember with Michael Strahan, the Giants, whenever we played McNabb, Strahan didn't usually get a lot of sacks. Strahan was the contain man, and he was brilliant at it. And it was off the charts. And I'd see these other teams play in the Eagles, and they run right straight at McNabb every play, and he just takes off. And I'm just, it used to blow my mind. Like, why can't other teams do this? Well, you have to have a talented defense. You have to have a disciplined defense, and you have to have a well-coached defense. Not every team has those things, but you're going to see 2 of those to get to the Super Bowl in all likelihood. So that's why it doesn't work. You know, this formula just has never amounted to anything in the NFL. And Lamar Jackson, in the situation he's in Baltimore, as Cardone said, if not now, with someone as talented as Lamar Jackson and a team as good as that around him, if not now, then when is it going to be?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's a perfect setup for this to finally break through. It just doesn't work.
Now, the other thing that came out of this obviously was all the stuff with Taylor Swift and the hype and you know, everything that's just been continuing throughout that. But I'll say this: it's almost flipped to where the people are now complaining more about those that are angry about Taylor Swift. Mm-hmm. They're like, why are people wasting their time talking about Taylor Swift? They're spending more time talking about the people that are angry about Taylor Swift. And we got 2 weeks of this now because it's Super Bowl week. And that should be like, well, it probably will be one of my pet peeves, but the whole Super Bowl week, why do we have a week in between? Why can't we just go back to 1 week? Do you really need an extra week of rest?
It's stupid.
We have to apparently have a war overseas to get that week canceled, right? Is that the only way we can get that canceled?
It's happened like twice, hasn't it, or 3 times?
I don't know. The last time I remember is Super Bowl 25, Giants Bills. I thought there was one more recent, but I could be wrong.
And it wasn't intended to be that way, right, Cardone? It wasn't intended. It was, we had the normal week off there, but because of the Iraq war.
Yeah.
Did we have only a week during COVID?
Maybe.
Might have been the 9/11 year.
Oh,
that's
right.
a good call, Novak.
Because they had to cancel some week 1 games.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Taylor Swift thing is so annoying. And what I'll say about that, I have zero. I'm talking to you, zero issue with Taylor Swift. None. This is not on Taylor Swift. She can do whatever she wants, and I have incredible amount of respect for the person that she's become and the following that she has and the money that she makes. She's talented as hell. We all agree with that. The problem here is the NFL. It is not Taylor Swift. So for those people that say, yelling at her, saying you've ruined the NFL, she's done nothing wrong here. But you know what the NFL wants with this, right? They want, and I'll set the stage for you. Here's what it's going to be. I'm going to do another prediction right now. We're going to get to Super Bowl week. The Chiefs are going to be up 28-27 on the 50-yard line, right? This is what's going to happen. Up 28-27 with a minute and a half left. Or no, let's say 40 seconds left. 3rd and 7. 49ers are going to have 2 timeouts. Mahomes is going to drop back, picked off by the 49ers. They run it back for a touchdown. Up, yellow flag. Bosa is going to get called for roughing the passer on Mahomes. 15 yards, Chiefs first down, and they're going to get to sit on the ball. They're going to sit on it, and with 1 second left, Reed is going to call timeout. Mahomes is going to come running off, and in runs Travis Kelce to take the snap, right? This is what's going to happen. I'm telling you, this is what the NFL wants. He's going to look up into that skybox and see Goodell shedding a tear with a thumbs up. He's going to take the snap and give new meaning to the term kneel down. And then she's going to come running out, and he's going to propose to this person. Confetti flying on down, and all of a sudden,
I'm telling you, you're going to hear this shit playing over the loudspeaker. Oh, shit.
I love this prediction.
I lost the speaker. But I'm telling you, that's what the NFL wants. They want to turn like this, the combination of Hollywood.
I had to stop writing. I lost all that in there, but I get the gist now. I see where you were going.
Novak needed Darren. I think he wants to cue up a Taylor Swift song.
Damn it. And it didn't work. I didn't have my thing turned off.
All the best intentions, my man. All the best.
But seriously, this is what the NFL wants. Let's just do it. Let's just propose to this woman at the end of the game so that we can all watch this and combine NFL with Hollywood like we complain about. It's ridiculous, and it's not her fault. I do like her.
Everything you just said is spot on. If Taylor Swift wants to go watch her boyfriend play a football game, by all means, she should go to a stadium and watch a football game. It's not about what's his name? Puss buddy, Coward this week went off. Colin Coward this week went off on people who are mad about Taylor Swift being there. And of course he had the completely wrong take. He misrepresented everyone's stance. And then, oh, she's on average when she's been there, she's on the screen for 18 seconds. Like, get over it, everybody. And it's like, it's not what it's about at all. It is just this glaring symbol that we all have that confirms for us what we already know, that the NFL we love is dying. Has nothing to do with Taylor Swift.
Nothing.
It's just this bright light in the sky that, just a storm coming, that, that this doesn't end here. This opened up a whole new era of NFL football. And we started there with the game day fits, and it already started becoming, and now they can't just announce in the newspaper who the MVP is. We have to have a fucking awards show to do it. Everything is wrong. Everything is wrong.
Well, and people forget
she's just a symbol of it.
This is not the first time people have been upset. People got upset when Tebow was in college. He was getting a lot of attention. If people people forget, you remember Tony Romo going to Cabo with Jessica Simpson in a bye week? I mean, this kind of stuff happens all the time, and people will comment about it because it's stuff to talk about when you have dead news. It's not like people are losing their minds over Taylor Swift.
No problem. Swift.
I mean, if you noticed on the when they were handing out the trophy, they were getting all emotional about Lamar Hunt's wife, who just recently passed away, and they went off. They took the camera off of that, and they went to Taylor Swift kissing Travis Kelce. I mean, come on, what are we doing here?
Yeah, there's someone in the van. They're at that stadium going, "What are they doing now?" No, camera two. They're kissing. Like, are you
kiss
kidding
cam
me? Yeah,
kiss cam. It's like the solid cam guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Get on them.
It's the NFL's fault. It's no one else's fault but the NFL. That's they're doing. It takes one phone call from Goodell to say, stop showing her up in that skybox. We don't need to see it. Focus on the game. And he won't do it.
Oh, I agree with you on that. That's definitely all the NFL. And they love the attention. I think they love it. They love that extra storyline.
Absolutely.
They love catering to the fringe fan.
It's a whole new set of stupid puns and things they can repeat every week. The announcers need more of that because they're running out of it. But, this gives them a whole new set of things they can talk about using, Taylor Swift songs before they go to commercial. And, it's something else for these dullards to talk about.
Well, I don't know if you heard, but I think flights into Vegas on a certain airline are like, one of them is Travis Kelce's. It's like flight 87. The other one is like it's like a conglomeration of her albums when they have a number in them. Like she have 19 or 24 or something like that, 29, whatever it is. So in other news, locally, we got to hear a lot about Greg Olsen being out as Fox's lead analyst probably next year, and Tom Brady stepping in. And I got to tell you this. I mean, I like Greg Olsen as a person. I liked him as a Panther. Had a rough situation with his son getting something with a heart. I don't know if it was open heart surgery, heart transplant, whatever it was. But, he's had some issues with his kid's health. The guy actually started off, he one time he was still playing, and he was an analyst in the middle of the season when he was playing. I think he got injured, and he stepped in and did a great job that first game. Now that he's doing it full time, I have to be honest with you, I'm not a Greg Olsen fan. I think he's not very good. But there are a lot of people that they keep saying, how could you kick Greg Olsen out for Tom Brady? Well, I'll tell you what, if Tom Brady ends up becoming anything like Troy Aikman, I'd kick him out too, because Greg Olsen to me is no better than some of the other color commentators you get. He's probably a little bit better than Jonathan Vilma, but not better than some of them,
Yeah. Olsen's fine. He's just like everyone else. And the well must be pretty dry at that network there if Greg Olsen's your lead guy, though. He's not a lead. He shouldn't be on the number one team. He should be on the third game or something that they have. So that's it. Why not try Tom Brady? I mean, what's it mean for him to get demoted? Like, is little baby KK and everyone else still going to be on that team? They're just replacing Olsen with Tom. Yeah, I don't know if that whole team is getting demoted. I don't know if you guys know that or.
I don't know that. I did lose a little respect for Olson because he did an interview locally and they asked him about, well, are you going to stay with? No, he's like, no, I want to be the number one guy. I deserve to be the number one guy, he said. And then someone asked him about being a coach. Would you sign up to be an assistant coach for these Panthers? He's like, no. He goes, if I coach, I want to be the head guy. So those kind of statements sometimes rub me the wrong way because you have to earn it. You can't just, if Greg Olson steps into a team and becomes the head guy, what does that say about all those assistant coaches that have put in work and have done the job?
We saw that with Jeff Saturday, didn't we?
Yeah.
Last year.
Guys doing nothing. Next day, you're the head coach of the Colts. Like, what the hell?
One other thing I wanted to bring up, and this is on the Giants side. So this is going to be more of a rant on my end because I cannot stand the state of journalism right now, sports journalism. If you guys know who Jordan Rannon is, he's got a podcast. He was a Giants beat writer when he was with the Star Ledger and NJ.com. He's since moved to ESPN, and in the last several years, he's one of those guys that he just considered to be like a clickbait guy. He goes for views. He doesn't really care about substance. He basically prints falsehoods. And I compare him to Pat Leonard a bit in terms of the quality of work that he does, except I think Pat Leonard is just a buffoon, where I think Jordan Rannon does it purposely. I think he tries to build his stature by throwing people under the bus. Well, he came out and gave this whole discussion about how Bill Belichick is telling people behind the scenes, don't work for the Giants. It's a bad, poorly run organization. You don't want to go there. And yet the evidence contradicts that, since the last two coaches the Giants have had ties to Bill Belichick. And there have been rumors that Bill Belichick told them, take the job. We know it with Joe Judge and Brian Daboll. If you remember the snafu of the text with Belichick between Brian Daboll and Brian Flores, where he basically told one of them they were getting the job when they really weren't, because he got the Bryans mixed up. But it's to me, it's like when a guy is on the beat and he's writing falsehoods and he's got a podcast where he's spewing shit too. We're not journalists, and we have better integrity than this fucking clown. And I don't like it because he ends up getting clicks. He ends up getting mentioned. He ends up getting retweeted for some of the shit that he puts out there. And then you got a whole set of Giant fans going, Belichick hates the Giants, man. No wonder he hates the Giants. We suck. We're run poorly. This is a complete figment of this guy's imagination.
Every shred of evidence over the past, since he left the Giants and went to Cleveland, contradicts that statement. And you guys saw the
two bills.
The two bills.
He's in the Giants locker room crying. I mean, and then refused to go into the Jets locker room. But,
God, he did.
I was hoping you didn't bring that up, but yeah.
But yeah, and you brought up the stuff with Daboll and the stuff with Joe Judge and other things we've heard over the years about the Maras consulting with him in coach searches, and it just, other than to just say it without citing an anonymous source, get out of here, man. Just get out of here. You're just saying something that, it's like a conspiracy theorist. You say something and then they tell you to prove it. I don't have to prove it. You're the one saying the crazy shit. You have to prove it, yeah.
Conspiracy theory. That's like when people ask me if Eli Manning's getting into the Hall of Fame and I have to, promote and give all the reasons why. I'm like, no. You tell me why he doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm tired of campaigning for this already. It's still a year away. I don't want to digress too far, but it's true, Mike. No, I don't have to explain anything.
Yeah. No.
You explain it.
Yeah, you're the one who made the shitty statement. Back it up.
It's funny because last couple of weeks I keep seeing flashbacks, so many years ago today, the Giants won this Super Bowl. So many years ago today, the Giants won this Super Bowl. And I'm like, wait a minute, we're in January. And then I realized because Super Bowls used to be played in January.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look at I've went through 2 weeks of that now in my Giants daily desk fact calendar.
Right on.
every day is like, on this day, the Giants beat San Francisco behind Eli Manning to win the NFC Championship. Oh, man.
So there was also some hubbub in Jets camp this week with there's a Athletic article out there. It basically calls the Jets a mess, a huge mess, worse than the Giants, which can be hard to believe at times. Basically a shit show for the Jets, saying Saleh has no spine, Hackett is useless, and that what Jets fan Novak has been saying all year long is indeed true, that Aaron Rodgers holds an inordinate amount of power in that organization.
I didn't read the whole article because I don't have access to The Athletic, but I read excerpts in different articles about it. Nothing surprises me. Not one thing in there was I surprised about. That, even another GM from another team called Joe Douglas, the assistant GM. How embarrassing is that if you're the GM, that someone else is calling you the assistant GM for the quarterback? Complete. And Saleh, this is my favorite. He took the cell phones of the coaches, apparently, to check to make sure that they weren't ratting stuff to the media. And he was upset that the Giants were not getting more crap than the Jets. Hello, you coach the Jets. This is what you signed up for, dude. Unless you win, you're going to get more crap than the Giants. They've won 5 Super Bowl. Am I right? 5?
4.
Okay, thanks.
They've been in 5.
1,
5
been
in 5.
Yeah, whatever. 4, 5, 7. I don't care. You won a lot. And this is what you sign up for. And until you win, this is the crap you're going to get. So, yeah, they're dysfunctional. It's been a month and we're still talking about these fucks.
How does one go about that? Like, hey, I need your cell phone. Like, is the guy like, all right, or is he like, got to guess my password there, buddy? I don't know how that works.
That reminds me of like when I was in 4th grade. I think I was playing the Mattel Electronics football game and it got confiscated. The teacher came around because when you scored a touchdown, that little thing would go near.
And all of a sudden, who's loud?
I shoved it in the desk. Teacher came around, confiscated it, put it in some closet in the back there. For like 3 days. How do you take cell phones away from adults?
No, only the Jets.
That's man.
Novak,
that is
this Jet franchise.
Situation.
Like
it is unbelievable.
It's the stories and the sideshows and the distractions and the dick. It's just insufferable, man.
If nothing else, it's added some color to the pod, right? I mean,
true. Oh, no doubt.
No doubt. I like how Saleh does something like that and all this other stuff that's swirling around. And he's like, what about the Giants?
Yeah.
Like what's going on?
How about them? Why can't we mock them?
That's funny.
Oh, God.
I'm sure Dable and Shade are over there going like, what? What do we do?
What do we do? We're doing our own thing. Shut up, dude.
We just suck. It's fine.
Yeah. We just stink.
Well, it's not like the Giants also haven't had their own circus going around with Dable under fire for the wink stuff and all of that. Yeah. So it's like it's kind of misdirected anger there by Saleh.
Well, that's it. Saleh has to learn these stories come and go very quickly.
Yeah,
and you just keep your head down. You just keep your head down, and it goes away. I mean, that's what the Giants had there. No one was talking about the Jets, 2 weeks ago when we were, wondering if Dable was a psychopath. Now that's passed. And now we're on to the Jets. You just take your turn, stand in line, take your beating from the media and move on.
Move on. Yep.
So we traditionally don't come on air next week because it's in between the Super Bowl and there's really no news to report. I don't know if that'll be the case. We'll talk together as a group after this, but Super Bowl predictions. Oh, what are the standings? Because didn't we say the person in last goes first?
Well, yeah. So what happened was I grabbed the wrong notebook when I went to the office this week. So my regular notebook is not here. However, I can tell you this, and I think you guys will agree with me that it was Cardone was ahead of us.
I had a 2-0 weekend last week.
Yeah. And then Novak and Kost were tied.
Yep.
And then I was one back, but then Novak lost
I lost both.
You lost both. So you joined me.
Correct. And I went 1-1.
You gained one. So Cardone is up by 1, Cost is 1 behind him, and me and Novak are 1 behind Cost. So it's only 1 game. We can't catch Cardone, who's 2 ahead of us for the playoff run. So
unless he calls a tie, then what are we doing? No.
Yes. So Novak will go first, and then Cost will go second, and then we'll flip a coin or something. Novak, it's I've been in last the whole time. Maybe I should pick last. You're new to the group. I've been in last the whole year.
I'll go first. That's fine.
All right.
And I wasn't prepared to make a pick, but I'm going to do it on
I
the fly.
thought Cardone was going first.
Cardone should go.
Cardone goes first.
I go first. I go first. Yeah. So I didn't think about this at all until today, and then realizing like, oh shit, we're gonna give our predictions tonight, and I hadn't really, thought about because like you said, because there's that extra week. It's you don't think about the Super Bowl yet, and here we are, 10 days out from it or whatever it is.
You're thinking about the flag football game instead.
I guess, the skills competition and
we still have to break that down.
Ridiculous,
but we do have to go on next week.
Yeah. I thought about it this way, guys, where after this latest playoff run by this Kansas City Chief franchise, I kind of dubbed them. I mentioned it the other day that they are becoming the modern. They're becoming the New England Patriots now, where you just cannot kill this team in the playoffs. You're going up against Mahomes, who's just setting himself and separating himself again from all the quarterbacks in this league. Andy Reid's obviously a phenomenal coach. It's hard to bet against Kansas City, so I'm not going to do that. I'm taking Kansas City to win back-to-back Super Bowls. And the score, give me 27-21, the Chiefs.
All right. Are you predicting an on-the-field post-game proposal?
I am. I'm not touching that shit. There's no way I'm attaching myself to any bullshit with proposals and Hollywood and all that nonsense. I'm just focused on football, and that's it.
All right.
People are asking, like, the halftime shows net. I don't give a shit who's playing. The commercials don't interest me anymore because they suck. Mm-hmm. Halftime shows, get the fuck out of here with that. Who pays attention to that at our age, in our life stage? I'm not worried about who's the halftime show is.
No. The worst thing about the Super Bowl is that the halftime is longer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's about it. Yeah. But I'm going Chiefs, guys.
Chiefs 27-21.
Yes, sir.
So I'm a little bit wary about picking the Chiefs only because Kadarius Toney's not going to be playing in this Super Bowl. So
the difference maker.
We might want to take a few minutes and talk about him throwing a second team under the bus for saying he was injured when he says he's not. But that's another point. This one's a tough one for me because, everything this year has been set up for the Chiefs to have this run. The 49er defense last week against the Lions did not impress me. Now they did come up, a little bit bigger at the end of the game, but that is an elite defense. It didn't look like it. And I worry that Andy Reid and will find a way to exploit that. That being said, one thing about Mahomes is he gets to championship games, he gets to the Super Bowl. I don't think he's won back-to-back ones yet. And so I think here is going to be another chance for Shanahan to get redemption. And he will I'm calling this one of two ways. He will either get out to a big lead and have to hold on and win, or he just wins the Super Bowl. If the 49ers are going to win. If it would be funny if they get out to a big lead and they lose, similar to when he was the offensive coordinator with Atlanta and they blew the big lead against New England. But I'm going on record to pick the 49ers here. One thing I didn't mention about Dan Campbell that rubbed me the wrong way too is he kept calling it a race to 30. And no, in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl, it's the race to beat the other team. It's a race to score more points than the other team. You don't need to hit a magical number. You just need to hit one more than the team you're playing.
Yeah.
And
way to pump up your defense, by the way.
Yeah, right.
well, that's exactly it too. Think about the ramifications there of saying that publicly. So I'm going to go with the Niners here. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be an exciting game. This might go down as one of those exciting finishes ever. 24-23.
Although, Scott, you're really not giving a lot of credit to analytics. Analytics do say if you get 30 in the playoffs, 92.777% chance you're going to win. Just saying.
I didn't listen to AWS.
Got to get Darren on that.
Darren's going to be busy.
He is. He's got a lot of catching up to do for the
homework.
Super Bowl. Yep. So I'll go before Mike. I too think that this game is really tough to call, but the way I look at it is, what are the paths that these two teams took to get here? And if you look, Kansas City beat a pretty good Miami team. They beat a very good Buffalo team, and they beat an excellent Raven team. Fairly convincingly, other than the Buffalo game, I thought they convincingly beat these teams. And then on the other side, San Francisco barely got by the Packers, and I think that they actually should have lost that game. And if it wasn't for Dan Campbell, they're not in the Super Bowl. So I have to look at those two paths to how they get here. And then I start thinking about, okay, who do I envision being up there on that podium accepting the trophy? And I cannot under any circumstance see John Lynch and whoever the owner is it still Eddie DeBartolo? I have no idea. Who up on the stage getting this trophy. I think it's going to be the Hunts up there saying that goofy speech that they always do. So again, the winners win. And I think the Chiefs are going to win this game. And I'm going to say 31-21.
31-21.
You eating those nuggies?
Oh God! Why would he do that commercial?
That's like last year when Terry Bradshaw called him over. He's like, "Come on over here, big guy." Basically, "Come on over here, fat ass. Let's give you this trophy."
God, every time I see that commercial, I cringe. Like, why, Andy? Why would you sit there for that commercial? I don't get it.
The nuggies. Oh,
you gonna eat those nuggies? So I will take Novak's assessment, which was very good. And I'll just say, to me, it always seems like the team that fought and scratched and clawed in the playoffs that, makes the Super Bowl and wins it. Very rarely anymore, in my opinion, see someone just sort of cruise right through it all. So Andy Reid is still Andy Reid, and he's a heck of a football coach. But one thing has never changed about Andy Reid is winning, losing, or tied, that dude abandons the run halfway through the second half. And since Kansas City's kind of been his dream team to coach, because when you got Patrick Mahomes, you can abandon the run if you'd like to finish out a game. However, I don't know if this year's version of Patrick Mahomes, and like we talked about last week, the Chiefs being a little bit more well-rounded, the offense kind of down, the defense kind of up. And but I just something tells me this year that this game is going to be close, and Andy Reid's going to stop running the ball, and the 49ers are going to take over in the mid third quarter through the fourth quarter. So I've got San Francisco winning at a score. The game will be closer than the score, but I've got them winning 31-17.
Was it the Giants against the Bills Super Bowl where the Bills just absolutely blew out the Raiders the week before in the Bo Don't Know game?
56-0 or something.
3 or 53 or
50 to something. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and then you get into the Super Bowl and it's a whole other deal. Yeah.
It's a whole other game. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I could actually catch Cardone here, which is
so we're split. We got two cheat. Yeah, this is a tough one because you can make it should be a close game. You can make the case for either team. So I had a tough time trying to decide. I just went with Mahomes and Reid basically. Yeah. I'm feeling like they're the new. I swear, like they're becoming the new Patriots, as I mentioned. So you just can't kill this freaking.
I heard the word dynasty several times this week.
Well, I went San Francisco so I could catch Novak. That's the only or pass Novak. Just give me a chance.
I mean, hard to believe they might be more insufferable than the Brady Belichick regime. In a way, the Chiefs.
Well, they certainly have turned a lot of people off this season in particular.
And you know what's funny? Like, I was gonna say, Scott, when the Chiefs, I loved them when they first made their Super Bowl with this team because they hadn't been there in forever. And you always like to see new teams kind of step up. And I was pulling for the Chiefs hard, just because they were a fresh new face, showing up in the big game. And now all it takes is a couple years, and you just get sick and tired of them. Isn't it amazing? But they are a dynasty, Scott. If you don't think, to me, now obviously a win is their third championship. What in 4? That'd be 3 and 4 years, right? Or 3 and 5 years. 3 and 4. The dynasty. That's absolutely a dynasty.
But in 4, they were in 4.
Correct. Yeah. No, it's absolutely a dynasty in this day and age of the NFL. No question. It
probably is already, but
I think it is.
A win in 2 weeks cements it.
A win cements it. And even if they were to lose, 2-2, still not bad. Still
2-2 and still caliber. With a very open window.
Yes.
That team. That's the scary thing about them is.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, though, through week 8 of this season, I still had a ton of respect for the Chiefs. It wasn't until that display on whether it was Sunday night, Monday night, I don't know what it was, when Mahomes went off and, Kelsey's doing commercials and he's acting like a, celebrity, and you got Taylor Swift. And then even last week in the pregame, Justin Tucker is in his usual spot warming up, and Kelsey comes over and kicks his kicking tee away and his ball so that his quarterback Mahomes can warm up. Guys, I've been to games a number of times. The kicker is usually in that area because the kicker, for some reason, always seems to kick in the direction of the team that you're facing. For some, it just seems to be like if you're that guy, you're kicking into the Chiefs. If you're the Chiefs kicker, you're kicking into the Ravens team. And that kind of stuff it piles up. And I don't dislike Andy Reid. I don't dislike the Chiefs. This year started to make me get that way about it. And the worst thing is I don't really like the 49ers either. I think the 49ers are a dirty ass team.
I think they are too. Yeah.
2 very dislikable teams that we have to watch.
Yeah.
Well, we did put the conspiracy theory of the Super Bowl logo colors to rest, at least.
That's true.
I mean, at least we got that out of our lives. So I'm
glad that didn't come.
I got sick of seeing reels on that thing. So,
and someone took a screenshot from something that showed the 49ers beating the Lions 28-27 and said, "Look, the NFL's already predicted this game. Is this the script?" It didn't end up 28-27. No.
Yeah.
The 49ers did win.
Yeah, the other one was apparently somebody caught, they went ahead to the Super Bowl on their DirecTV, and for the Super Bowl it said the Baltimore Ravens play the San Francisco 49ers in Super Bowl 58. So that was, it's already been decided. I'm like, that's filler. They just put things in there. They don't think anyone's no idiot like he's looking 3 weeks ahead at the TV schedule. I mean, what the hell?
So
the other thing about Kansas City, real quick, Scott. The other thing about Kansas City. Now I'm only looking at the box score from this past weekend's game against Baltimore, but I was saying even before the game, pay close attention to how the game's officiated, right? Mm-hmm. And the penalties in yards. Baltimore 8 penalties, 95 yards. Kansas City, on the other hand, on the road, mind you, 3 penalties, 30 yards. So a third of the penalties of what Baltimore had. Now, I don't need to look at the other games, but one thing that the 4 of us talk about every week is the officiating. It's not a secret. We all know. I mean, you talk to anybody who follows the NFL, and it's suspect. It sucks. It's egregious in terms of how the games are called. But this Kansas City Chief team, whether it's the prima donnas, the sense of entitlement, the ratings, something with the NFL. The NFL has an agenda to get certain teams to where they know that they're going to be. Now, Lions, Ravens, is that as appealing as Super Bowl, around for those fringe NFL fans? Not quite as much, right, guys?
Yeah,
so
it's not it's not what the Chiefs are. The Chiefs making the Super Bowl increases the viewing numbers by millions.
Incredibly, millions.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's a conflict of interest there. There's no question. And the Lions, where they're a great story, just not the same as with the Chiefs. It's just not.
No.
Not to mention, I'd like to think that there is a massive conspiracy, and the second Dan Campbell went for it on 4th down there, instead of taking the 3-score lead, Goodall called down and said, "Fuck him." Change their mind, boys. If 49ers win this game. Yes, sir.
Fudge the analytics numbers.
Well, two sets of books.
Cardone did bring up the penalty yards on the Ravens. Now, 45 of those came in one drive where they had 3 personal fouls.
Right.
And I will say this. One of the things I hated about that game is that last interception that Lamar threw into triple coverage. They're clearly the receiver in the back of the end zone was getting pushed before the play. So, or before the pass was interfered with. So what I hate is when they bring like Terry McCauley on or whoever it is, they bring them on, Mike Pereira, and they tell you something that your eyes aren't seeing. So they're replaying it, and he goes, well, you could see the contact comes well after the pass is intercepted. No, actually, the contact came a good 2 seconds before the pass being intercepted, but it's okay. I wouldn't have called it anyway, but don't tell us something that we can all see is wrong.
Yeah. I've said they're so useless. They're there to be patsies of the officials on the field. And, I think this year I'll actually say more than most. I saw a lot of disagreeing guys in the booth with what was going on in the field. And I think that's just a function is some of these calls are so egregious that you can't with a straight face keep your credibility and stand up there and say something. But we didn't talk about, speaking about officials and speaking about the Ravens game, the thing that kind of we didn't talk about that was a huge deal for me is this guy who's got to bring the Ravens back to the game. He's got to spin the ball on the ground and stand over the receiver. And,
Zay Flowers. That was bad.
And I mean,
brutal.
Just can't help themselves in this league. Nope. It's a penalty. People say it's a penalty every time. And I will say even that one's not a penalty every time because Travis Kelce does that a lot. And I've never seen him get called for it. But that is inexcusable in the playoffs in that situation. You just made a huge play to bring your team back in that game and almost an automatic touchdown after that with Lamar Jackson and his ability to run and confuse a defense down that tight.
First and goal after that. Yep.
Yeah.
First and goal from the 3, I believe.
Yep. If I'm a coach, that's the kind of thing the top of my head blows right off. Like, what are you doing? Why? What is it in you that you can't get up off the ground and hand the ball to the ref and walk away or even turn around and celebrate if you want to celebrate? Mm-hmm. I just don't get it.
Again, it's the playoffs, guys. You make a mistake in the playoffs and you're out. It's not like a regular season game.
Well, a couple things we didn't talk about, and like I didn't make them. I wasn't thinking of them as pet peeves, but I was just about to say, I'm like, we haven't talked about Zay Flowers yet, and then he's getting consoled by Odell Beckham of all people, of all assholes. He's being consoled by him. And then in the other game, Reynolds dropped. That's a drop on that fourth down. The first. So we were beating up Dan Campbell, rightfully so. But Reynolds drops that ball, and then later in the fourth quarter drops that crossing route on a third down. That was a third down play, right? I believe they were forced to punt after that. Yep. And he's getting high five from Dan Campbell coming off the sidelines. Get the fuck out of here. Where's the old days of a guy grabbing the guy, be like, get in the game, man. Wake up. Let's go. Give him like I know he's a human being and you drop balls, but that's one where like instead of why can't you just have a coach one time just grab him by the face mask and be like, let's go. Come on. Why not?
Yeah. Now, a couple of the angles I saw on that fourth down play, I don't know if I'd consider that a drop, but that crossing route one is a drop, and definitely. It puts them in scoring position.
Yep.
So,
the 4th and 2, Scott. I don't know. I mean, anytime I know the ball was behind him a little bit, but again, as a professional wide receiver, I still feel like that's one you got to haul in. The greats haul that one in, and he obviously was messed up about it because. It's still. I think it affected him mentally on the drop on the crossing route. One. It was still in his head. Yep.
Kick a field goal. He doesn't have that.
About that.
Right on.
Another thing that might have changed.
So, Mikey, pet peeves.
Yeah, I got 2 this week, and I'm kind of forced to go with one of them. I think they're both really good, but I'm going to go with the second one because of the timing of it. because I want to get this out there before the ESPN has their award show and we find out who the MVP is for the NFL. So my problem with MVP this year is, and not just this year, since they've gone to the awards, NFL honors, whatever it's called. So first of all, I'm reading this article and it says, oh, the finalists were determined this year through the AP's revamped voting system, which asked voters to rank their top 5, right? So I'm reading that and I'm like, okay, are we going to talk about why they revamped their voting system? It's so like the fucking Oscars, we can have, and the winner is, we can put everyone's name up there and show a highlight and show their clip from a movie and then we can open the envelope and the winner is. So that's the first thing. I mean, they're trying to act like, oh, the AP just decided they're going to revamp the voting system this year. Bullshit. There's a reason why. It's to be more Hollywood, like everything else. But then, so I don't know if you guys heard this, the finalists are for most valuable player, and this is what I really want to talk about, are Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Christian McCaffrey, Dak Prescott, and Brock Purdy are the 5 finalists for the NFL most valuable player. So I thought a lot about this week because I saw when these came out, and we really have to do something about this most valuable player award. Mm-hmm. These maybe should be the finalists maybe for like offensive player of the year. And I almost think that they should switch, because in the past, I've always said, well, it's got to be the most valuable player to their team. That's what that means. And that's why you could be 8-8 in my opinion, or I guess 8-9 these days. And you have an MVP candidate. You should be able to technically, because it's the most valuable player to that team. But I thought about it another way this week, and I think this better defines what an MVP is. So 2 things would happen if, and I'll use a guy on this list that I think deserves to be on the list, and that's Christian McCaffrey. So I thought of it, if you're an MVP, 2 things would happen. The first thing is, if you left the team, they're discernibly a worse team than if you're on it. And the second thing is, you could go to any team in the league and make them discernibly better. So I think if you're a player and you can think about that player and they check those 2 boxes, then there's an MVP candidate. That's a guy you'd think would be an MVP candidate. The other guy on this list who I think belongs on it is Josh Allen. I think the Bills are dog shit without Josh Allen. And I think he could go to almost any teams, save the Chiefs and a couple others, and make them a playoff team. Because absolutely. I think that's what he's doing with the Buffalo Bills right now. Mm-hmm. We already talked about Lamar Jackson, who I think if you replace him on Baltimore, and if he goes somewhere else, I don't know that he makes someone a better team. I don't know that Baltimore is discernibly worse without him. You remember what was his name? Huntley, who played
the Pro Bowl quarterback.
Yeah, he made the Pro Bowl playing for the Ravens. So yeah. And Dak Prescott, please, I don't even think I have to talk about that. The Cowboys could plug in anybody at quarterback pretty much in the league. They'd be a decent quarterback on the Cowboys. And Dak is not going to, if Dak got traded to the Giants and became the starter over Jones, he's not going to make that big a difference on that team. And same with Brock Purdy. I think that was kind of laughable. We already know any number of quarterbacks could be having this success with San Francisco, and Brock Purdy going to the Jets next year is not going to make the Jets into a playoff team.
So are they saying out of those 5 people, for the Jets, not even Patrick Mahomes is not even in the top 5?
No, that's another one. When I thought about people not on the list, which is sort of my next step, was the first one that came to mind was Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. The Chiefs are a worse team without him, and any team he would go to would be better. That's a valuable player. And then so you go down and you kind of look at, okay, who are the offensive player of the year candidates? Now, these are players, I think some of these players guys should be considered for MVP. Tyreek Hill. I mean, Tyreek Hill completely transformed the Dolphins, and the Chiefs suffered when he left. They don't, I mean, Lamar's on there, and Christian's on there, and Dak is on there. But the other guy on there who's not in the MVP list is CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb's had an MVP year if you want to look at players like that. So this award thing, we just need to maybe change the names of it. If they want this, if they like this group of finalists for something, that's fine. Best quarterback on a team with at least 12 wins is probably what the name of the award should be.
Yeah.
That's probably where they should go with that, or but yeah, MVP. I mean, it's not quite as comical yet as making the Pro Bowl, which anyone who holds that up, like, 5-time Pro Bowler, big deal.
Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, who cares if you're a 5-time Pro Bowler? Such a joke of a thing. Anyway, but I digress. We to prove how bad the award is, like I kind of went there a little bit earlier. Lamar Jackson is about to become the NFL's 2-time MVP. And now maybe that's died down. I don't know if McCaffrey is now going to overtake him, which I hope happens. McCaffrey's a worthy winner of that award.
Hasn't the voting already happened?
The voting has.
Yeah. I think they had voted on this by the end.
Yeah.
At the end of the regular season.
I think it's closed, if you will, the voting. Yeah.
Yep. So they out there, they know who the NFL MVP is right now. And sort of the running favorite at the start of the playoffs was Lamar Jackson. So if the voting is stopped, I think we might be looking at Lamar Jackson as a 2-time NFL MVP.
Now, I will say this, that the stark difference between that list and a list you would have seen in the late 80s, early 90s is a lack of a defensive player.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Think about any defensive player. I mean, what they're saying basically is there's not a defensive player better than the top 5 offensive players.
Yeah. I mean, the defensive player of the year list is Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, TJ Watt, Max Crosby, and Deron Bland. Never heard of him for Dallas.
He's the cowboy guy with all the interceptions.
Oh, the defensive back. Yeah.
So other than maybe Bland and Crosby on that, I'd leave Crosby on it. Other than Bland, those players fit the short 2-question list I just asked.
Yep.
I mean, I think they should maybe not make it a rule, but there should be a real effort. If you're going to have 5 finalists so you can have your Oscar presentation, you gotta pick a defensive player. Give them a chance to win the award. That's mine.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's good. Mm-hmm. Really good.
Novak.
So 2 very quick ones. And once the football season ends, I start dipping into other sports because I have blinders on until football season's over. So I've been dipping in a little bit now to basketball, and I got annoyed the first second I started dipping in again. How does this guy Doc Rivers get another job? This guy hasn't won dick,
as they
say.
In the NBA?
Yes, he got the job of the best team in basketball with the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah. And I'm telling you, if this guy's name was Jerry, he's not getting that job. It's because his name is Doc. So I'm telling you, I hate this. How this guy still has a job, someone needs to explain to me. But that was my one because I'm annoyed by that.
Yeah.
And then the second one is, it's not really a pet peeve as much as a question for you guys, because I did text it to you. It does have to do with football. Someone needs to explain to me why it is a bad strategy when you're down 10 with more than 2 minutes left and you have all 3 timeouts and you're in field goal range, why you don't kick the field goal and then kick off, have your 3 timeouts and try to get the touchdown. Even if you're kicking the field goal on 2nd down. Like, I understand the analytics and all that crap, but we saw it in both games. Where you had a weapon like Justin Tucker. They could have kicked that field goal, been only down 1 score. Pressure's now back on Kansas City. They didn't do it. They got intercepted and the game's over. And then the other game, same thing. It happened as well, where they could have kicked the field goal, been down 1 score. They didn't. They had to call a timeout, right? I think the Lions did. And now they had to do the onside kick. Someone explain to me why that is not a good strategy.
Now, I'm not going to go full nerd on you, but you are onto something. And the analytics or the math says if you have all your timeouts left and you're outside of the 20-yard line into a makeable field goal range, you should be kicking that field goal because you have all your timeouts left. You can kick off, you get a stop, you get the ball back, and then you have to get a touchdown with no timeouts left. The problem is these teams bleed that clock down to where they get to a point where either the timeouts don't matter or they don't have enough time, whether they have the timeouts or not. and then they got to do the onside kick, which, by the way, now with the new rules, an onside kick has zero chance of really happening.
Zero.
It really does. I mean, if someone wants to prepare against an onside kick, the only time an onside kick is going to work is if you do it when it's unexpected, like to start a game or start a second half. It's not going to happen, when it's expected.
By the way, speaking of timeouts, we didn't murder Dan Campbell on the fact that he ran the ball.
Well, he talked about it a little
second
bit.
Down.
All right. We talked about just a bit.
I
did mention,
but that's the whole point. Like, why wouldn't you just kick the field goal there?
Yeah.
I mean, I know they're on the 5-yard line, but kick it. You got your 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning. Now you're within a score. Pressure's on the other team to get a first down.
Or throw the ball. If you don't make it, kick it.
Right. Yeah.
Then you still have all 3 of your timeouts. I mean, running it. And the funny thing is, the announcers were all over that. They're like, "Oh, they brought Montgomery in here. They're not going to run this, are they?"
Yeah.
No.
No, you're dead on, Novak. I mean, that is that nobody thinks about that anymore. It's because the NFL and the media and the announcers and the fans have devalued the field goal. It's like they think like a field goal can't possibly like get you back in a game. It's only 3 points. How in the world can that happen?
So at that point in the game, time is more important than points. Because you got to get 2 scores.
Absolutely.
So why not conserve the time, kick it, 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning? You could potentially get the ball back with a timeout in that scenario.
And if a coach would argue, well, there's no guarantee we make that kick. Well, if you miss the field goal, the game's over anyway.
Exactly.
Like who cares? I mean, and that yardage down there. Let's say if you have a really good kicker, you're kicking a field goal from the 35 in. That 35 to the end zone, you very rarely get something over the top down there and that close. That is going to be a grind to get that ball to the end zone. If you're going to get something over the top, you're going to do it from the 50 or out.
Yep.
And it's, it's just you're just running the clock out on yourself. You said second down, Novak. I do it on first down.
That's what I'm saying. Why not?
The minute that, if we ran a play and I had a receiver get out of bounds at the 30 for a 1st and 10 in the exact same situation, I'd say field goal right now.
Yep.
Go kick the field goal. There's a minute 58 left. We have all of our timeouts. They're going to need 2 or 3 first downs to salt this thing away. Let's do it now and get within a score.
Yep.
That was
good one.
Yeah.
Cardone.
That was awesome.
I had one earlier that we already covered. It was so I'm going to bypass that one. I have a backup here. I may as well do one every week on the sports media and just whatever's happening, just report what I'm hearing in the sports media. I'm talking about the Stephen A's, the Orlovskis, and all these assholes, all these asshole experts on ESPN. And you guys know I say this every week. I do it to intentionally irritate myself and get aggravated. So, this week, and it's been going on really all season with Brock Purdy. And the guy, all he's done, and I know, Mike, you just said, he's in a certain system, and it's one of those things, again, where, does the guy have to apologize for winning?
Nope.
So my favorite statement or question, if you will, on the screen this week was, did Purdy put all the criticism to bed? What criticism? Why is the guy under criticism? He's in his 2nd year. The guy's Mr. Irrelevant. All he's done is win. You can put it on the system and the players around him, but like I always say, you still have to go out and perform. You still have to play. You still have to do all these things. And what I'm so sick and tired of, I talk about this all the time, so I know I'm repeating myself. It's just week to week, though. They anoint who they want to anoint, and they oppress who they want to oppress. And for whatever reason, Brock Purdy gets that oppression stigma to him. For whatever reason, it's all, and everyone in the media is in agreement with this. So Stephen A. went as far as to say, well, the criticism will be put to bed if he shows up in the Super Bowl. So now this guy will cannot escape criticism if he fails to beat Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid now. That's what by that reasoning, Stephen A. That's what you're saying, is that you'll still criticize Brock Purdy who's in is in the league in his second year. Meanwhile, I just rattled off like Josh Allen, Herbert, Prescott, Lamar. These guys have yet to show up in the Super Bowl. But we're still criticizing Brock Purdy and what he's accomplished to this point. Why?
Yep.
No one can explain that to me.
They're already on the anointed list.
They're anointed. Justin Herbert. Why? Pretty boy from the Clippers.
Somehow they've bypassed Stephen A's rule that you have to beat Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl to escape criticism. They all bypass that.
I don't understand, guys. I really don't. And I don't have any additional love for Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers, but you just got to appreciate what this guy's done so far in his early career. What in the world should this guy be getting criticized about anything? We know the numbers. Yep. You heard Ryan Clark say a couple of weeks ago, whatever, the single hardest thing I've had to do is mention Brock Purdy's name among the other greats in this league in the MVP race. Go the hell, RC, Ryan Clark, you asshole. You got to be kidding me. He has the numbers to even back it up, let alone he had the 1 seed. What more is he supposed to do? So, it's amazing, guys, because the flip side, we all know what would happen. If Purdy does win, it's going to be, how the hell did Patrick Mahomes lose to Brock Purdy? And Mahomes is going to be, maybe he's not the GOAT. Maybe he's not as good, the greatest of all time. Mahomes can't get it done. He's not as good as Brady. It's unbelievable, guys. And this week, it just happens to be, I'm sitting here having to listen to criticism about Brock Purdy. It's unreal. Why? It's just, it doesn't make any sense. It drives me crazy.
You're right. Mr. Irrelevant has only made 2 championship games in his career and is going to a Super Bowl, and he's taking shit for it.
He's taking shit. Yeah. But Mr. Irrelevant just beat a number 1 overall pick in the draft.
That's right.
So the dead last pick in the draft just beat the very first pick in the draft, and he sucks.
I wonder if that's ever happened.
I don't think it has. That was actually a stat I saw this past week. I didn't pull that out of thin air. I had that one queued up on my list here.
That's a good one.
Oh, it's good stuff. I like that. I mean, because you do see that. You see the anointed and you see the unanointed, and the way they treat that group. It's interesting. Like Josh Allen, no one talks about him throwing a ball into double coverage when the game's on the line, when he had people underneath open. They just talk about him being a gunslinger. He's going for the win.
Yep.
When Brock Purdy does that for the first time in a Super Bowl, Brock Purdy, you can't make that decision. That doesn't happen. You can't.
Which, by the way, he probably won't, because he does make very good decisions with the football. So,
and another thing. Furthermore, though, what drives me crazy in the media. Another thing, Varnagit. Another thing is that the opinions become unanimous with all these schmucks. That's what I don't understand. Like you hear, like you said, I just throw Josh Allen. Josh Allen, he's a winner. He's this. He's puts the team on his back. He does all these things. No one says, hey, you know what, guys? Actually, Josh Allen, I don't trust this guy, or I don't see that extra, ingredient that needed to get to this. Everyone just is in agreement. So how come we're not hearing anybody on the Brock Purdy, bandwagon to say, you know what, guys, I completely disagree with all this criticism. Guys just getting it done, man. You don't hear that. It's just, and that's why these guys, they always say we. I'm always barking at the TV. We're like, well, we this. I'm like, who's we? Aren't you talking about yourself?
The collective hive mind.
The collective we.
On the flip side, you do get some takes. So like people are like, is Brock Purdy just a game manager this week? And they're showing clips on Twitter of him throwing that ball to Ayuk that literally bounces off the defender's helmet. I mean, that's about one of the luckiest plays you're going to see. It's like,
exactly. Now
he might be a game manager, but I don't care. He's in the Super Bowl.
He's winning.
I'll tell you this. Go ahead, Cardone. No,
I was going to say, I didn't pick him. I picked the Chiefs to win, but it's not going to be because Purdy is not playing well. I just think the Chiefs are going to outplay. I think my only reasoning is just the Chiefs have that dynasty tag that's just hard to beat that team. But 49ers are not going to lose because Purdy just doesn't know how to throw the ball around the stadium. It's just.
We talked earlier about how these quarterbacks who are run first quarterbacks have never won a Super Bowl. And, you put Josh Allen in that category too, although he's tried to pull that run first thing back a little bit. But who has won multiple Super Bowls? Game managers.
Yeah. Yeah, they have.
So
yeah. Yeah. Joe Flacco, Brad Johnson, Trent Dilfer. Yep. These guys have won Super Bowls.
Jeff
Hostetler.
Yep.
You bring Joe Flacco up. Joe Flacco and Trent Dilfer are two guys who played on that Ravens team with a solid defense, a solid offensive line, and a good running game, and won, whereas Lamar Jackson
same as Lamar?
Exactly.
Why? Because you know why? Because Flacco and these guys, they were ridiculously poised and in control of that offense those seasons that they went on those runs. Lamar Jackson has the emotional intelligence of nothing. So he does. That's why. It's a big reason. It's not the only reason, but it's a big reason.
Yep. If a quarterback loves your talent enough to go and try to win a game with it, if the coaches of Baltimore had, and I love the coaches for Baltimore, by the way, but if they had told Lamar Jackson, listen, we're going to run the ball today a lot, and we're going to ask you to throw some passes today. We're going to make them as easy as possible. We're going to get guys open in the flat for you. We just need you to manage this thing. Baltimore might be in the Super Bowl right now. It's amazing where people use game manager as a curse on somebody, as a bad thing.
Yeah.
But all Brock Purdy did is sit there make the team as the last pick of the draft, sit there while everyone around him got hurt, and the coaches handed him the ball and said, "Hey, let's see what you got. Do the best you can." And he goes to the NFC Championship game. Now he comes back this year and he wins the NFC Championship game. Now we talk about all the time about quarterbacks getting too much credit and too much blame, but you can't deny the fact that he's there.
Yeah, can't.
He's there. All they need is someone to distribute the ball to those weapons. That's it. Yep. He can do it. He can do it effectively. And by the way, at the end of the Lions game, Purdy had some pretty big runs when he tucked the ball and ran that were clutch too.
Sure did.
Yeah. The criticism of Purdy is too much. I don't think he's a league MVP, but to criticize him is too much.
Yeah.
So my pet peeve touches upon one. This is going to be quick because we do have a couple questions from Peacock, but we talk about this every year, and it's the whole. My pet peeve is just basically this week. It's that week in between now and the Super Bowl, because this is the time the players have to be present, but you have like jackasses from like Turkmenistan asking questions, or the guy from Zamunda. So are you going to kick the oblong ball through the big H to win the game? And it's like, fucking, you got to answer these questions. And it's like, what's going on? The entire time that we're spending this week could just be put into game planning time and you play the Super Bowl. I don't understand why we have a week in between. It's never really made sense to me. And for the players, it has to be pure hell because these guys have to be there, but they have to subject themselves for hours at a time to these ridiculous questions. And you know what? They get fined. Remember Marshawn Lynch?
Oh yeah.
He famously was fined a few times for refusing to deal with this shit. I don't know how they do it. I really don't.
Did he do an interview with his helmet on or something one time?
Yeah.
A la Ricky Williams.
He did a lot of different things. But the thing is, think about the journalists, again, in air quotes here, that are showing up for these things. The four of us could be journalists at these events. We have better credentials than some guy from Croatia that shows up writing for the Zagreb Times that's asking questions.
We'd be a lot funnier than some of these losers out there, that's for sure.
Hell yeah.
The Super Bowl coverage, I think the worst part of it is that it spreads over, it leaks over into, the news programs have, news, weather, sports. Well, it bleeds over into the news section.
Yes.
And so you have people who, like we always say, these guys know nothing. They're the sports media. Imagine what the other people know. You know, they don't know anything. And so it just turns into a freak show. And every player on every team and every coach on every team would rather just play this Sunday and get it over with. Let's just go do it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that said, I'm pumped about the flag football game. So you guys can say all you want, but I'm going to dive into this weekend. I can't wait. So say what you want. I disagree with Scott on this.
Is Peyton Manning going to make a coaching blunder error like he did last year?
It's going to get out coached by Eli.
Who's going to tear their ACL in this game?
Yeah.
Like Robert Edwards, wasn't that guy's name that did it on the
beach?
On the beach.
Yeah.
God. Yeah, they should play the Super Bowl right after the championship games and then take a week off and then do the flag football.
Yeah, so that we could have some Chiefs and 49ers in the
right.
game.
Matt, I'd love to see Christian McCaffrey in that flag football game. That would be awesome.
I think he'd be great in dodgeball.
Probably would be.
So we had 2 questions from Peacock. So
is this our the new Peacock segment?
I tried to name it the Peacock download.
The Peacock download. Here we go.
Unfortunately, I think Novak's being left out of this because he did ask which Giants Super Bowl win was the most satisfying. We know which of Novak's Super Bowl wins was the most satisfying.
Let me think about that one. Yeah, I'm going to go with Super Bowl 3.
So for me, I go back to that. Look, they've all been great. I love that we beat the Patriots twice, especially in the 18-0 year. But the very first one against the Broncos will be the one I will take away just because it was the first. It was the time we built up in the 80s. It's almost like we built up to that moment, and then that moment happened. So for me, it's always that first win against the Broncos.
It's a tough one because as soon as you finished reading the question, my immediate thought went to Super Bowl 21, the first one. That's my favorite Giant team of all time, hands down, by far. But then I started thinking immediately, well, shit, what about 42? We beat the Patriots, undefeated team. But I don't know, something about that 86 team actually even edges out for me the New England, the first New England, championship. So I'm in agreement, Scott. That 86 Pasadena, the first championship, Giants hadn't won anything in 30 years, I think at that time. First Super Bowl, it's Super Bowl 21. My favorite team.
Yeah. So this is a tough question actually for me because they have all had their satisfying moments in them. Obviously what you guys just said about 21. 25 was great because it was just like they had no chance to win, right? I think they were bigger underdogs in that game than the first Patriots game, or it was really close. And just to beat another team in New York, and just of course the epicness of the game. So, I think I'd say that is probably from gun to gun, that's the best game for me, 25, but I don't know if it's the most satisfying. To me, I almost think that the last one was the most satisfying because we still had critics after 42. Lucky, helmet catch, blah, blah, blah. And just to go out there in the second one and just really look like the better team on the field for most of the game, although through a couple spots, to me, that was almost like a satisfying validation moment. That was like, you fuckers, it wasn't a fluke. And we did it again, even against, there were so many people that week. I remember Scott and I laughing about, oh, Tom Brady's got a different look in his eye. I'd be afraid if I were the Giants, and just the way that, whole thing went down, the validation. One of the most satisfying things about 42, which was the first Patriots one, was Tom Brady was really cocky before that game. He was less cocky before the second game, which would make sense. But Plax said we're going to beat him 20-17 or something, and Tom Brady was like, "Yeah, you're only going to hold us to 17." Yeah, right. And then we did.
Yeah.
So that that kind of thing was pretty awesome. But yeah, I think if you just use the word satisfying, I'm going to go with the last one because it just really, out of the 4 Super Bowls, that was the one where I felt the most aggressive after. I was like, all right, of course, then I'm like, this is the start of a dynasty. Sit down.
Well, you're right about the Buffalo one, because if you go back to the Bronco game, we were favorites. You go into the Buffalo one, and like I brought up earlier, Buffalo had just destroyed Bo Jackson and the Raiders, and everyone's like, Buffalo got the K gun. No one's got a chance against the K gun. They're going to score 45 points against the Giants. And so it seems like the last 3 that we've played, we've been, severe underdogs in. So in a way, there's always a satisfying feeling about winning as an underdog.
Yeah. I think had I been alive through that 30-year period before 86, I think you'd have to pick that, because that would just be like, but in some ways, I don't know if you guys felt this way, but after 25, I remember Scott and I talking specifically about this, and then we revamped it after the Patriots win. I didn't know if we'd ever win one again, guys. I didn't know if we would ever win one again, and to do it in the way we did it, man, it's a hard question to answer. Satisfying. They all have their own satisfying pieces.
Well, that's what bothers me about the mindset of some people, is that you never know when your last one is. I mean, look, we won one against the Patriots, the second one that we won, and we haven't been back since. We haven't even sniffed anything
Not
since.
Even close. Yeah.
And you think about that, and you could go from being on top to being on the bottom that quickly. And so that's why I always hate it when a fan base acts like, oh yeah, well, we'll be there. We'll be around. Yeah, you're not necessarily going to be around, know?
You're not.
And imagine being a Lions fan. Look at the Lions fans and how much joy they took out of this year. Another reason, like Dan Campbell, I mean, he fucking ruined the hopes of a whole city, basically.
Yeah, he did.
So the other question Peacock has is if we have any Super Bowl rituals. So that doesn't necessarily mean if our team's in it, just Super Bowl rituals as a whole. I will say this. I'm always a big proponent of a Super Bowl party. I had a party when the Giants played the Ravens in 2000. I will never have a Super Bowl party with more than just me and a couple of guys that are Giants fans if they make the Super Bowl again. So Cardone was at my house for, I think, both Patriot Super Bowls. I just don't think I can do it with more people. No. And so for me, non-Giant years, I have a Super Bowl party. Giant years, I can't do it.
Yeah, pretty much the same way. I usually watch the Super Bowl at home, no matter what, because I'm a big, don't go party on school nights guy. But I did go to Scott's for the beatdown by the Ravens. So if I ever thought that I might do that again, I will never do that again. I would not mind watching the Super Bowl with you guys at all. Mm-hmm. If I'm talking about if the Giants were in it here,
mm-hmm. But or the Jets.
Jets. Yep. In general, Super Bowl rituals, I don't have any. My ritual when the Giants are in it would be, just that I prefer to stay home. I would go out to a small gathering. For Super Bowl 42, I allowed some friends of ours to come over because they weren't Giants fans. They weren't Patriots fans. I figured that would be fine. It was just a couple. Well, they ended up unannounced bringing their cousin and his wife, and the cousin shows up in a Tom Brady jersey. So I was like, oh, this is bad. This is really bad. But that worked out, so maybe that's okay. But yeah,
I will say this.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I will say this. I make chili every year for the Super Bowl, so I do a good pot of chili.
I'm sorry. I just want to put an end on mine, Novak. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I do keep a bottle of champagne in the fridge at all times in case any team I like wins a championship. So, I think it was like I don't know how old the bottle was I just opened when Michigan won, but I've since replenished it and it's waiting there on the Giants now. So.
No, my only ritual is I usually wait on the pregame until they inevitably show Namath running off the field, wagging his finger, and then I cry for like 2 minutes. But that's at pretty much every Super Bowl Sunday. So that's about it.
Cardone? Well,
I'm kind of like you guys, like where I have to be at someone's house. I can't remember the last time I went out to like a sports bar for the Super Bowl, and it's just a disaster.
Oh, no.
It's just so that's one that you definitely have to take in either at home or, like you said, a small group too. It can't be. One of the things that drives me crazy is when you go to like a large Super Bowl party and there's people that don't know football. They're just they're in and out of the room. They're not even watching the game. You're having to explain like what's going on in the game itself. That's brutal. It's like the most important football game of the year, and there's people that have no idea what's going on. The only ritual I don't have like a food ritual or anything like that. But one thing I do like to do is at some point, like maybe early in the day, I will pop on the NFL Films soundtrack and listen to John Facenda's voice, and because like the NFL Network is always running, they run like the highlights of every Super Bowl. So what I like to do is watch, especially the Giant ones. I'll make sure and rewatch the Giants Super Bowl highlights, because NFL Network will run, what is there now, 57 of them, as far as highlights, and they run from 1 to 57. So I like to just sit down and catch some of the old highlights of the old Super Bowl games, and I got to listen to like Facenda in the background. So I'll do that. Yeah,
strong.
Yeah.
So my wife will say her lasting memory of a Super Bowl is still when Cardone and I were together watching the Giants beat the Patriots for the first time, and he jumped into my arms at the gun.
Grown men.
And two grown men. I'm holding him up.
Yes.
And she's like looking in bewilderment that two grown men are being in an embrace at this time.
We were light as feathers right there. We were literally on cloud nine.
And I think was it only the three of us at that time? I think it was. I think you were there. I think the rest of here's the thing. Whenever I have a party, company tends to leave at halftime. They watch the halftime show and then they go.
Oh.
So I almost think at that point it was me, Cardone, and Steph still there. That was it.
Yeah.
Yep. It is. I don't know what it is. Grown men, no affiliation to this team other than we decided one day we liked them for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But that's just an awesome day. I mean, when your team wins that Super Bowl, man, that is something. Sorry, Novak.
That's all right. It's okay. Yeah. By the way, I contacted Darren is working on some NFL Films music to play us out after Scott's done with the goodbye. So I got it queued up, ready to go. NFL has approved this music.
Right on.
You guys got anything else for tonight, or can we go right to the music?
Let's go to the music.
Let's go to the music.
Oh no.
Yes. This is
that
it.
Is brutal.
This is the music this is the voice that replaces John Facenda.
This is it.
There you go.